Well, good evening, good evening, good evening. It's good to see everybody tonight. How about those Chiefs? I thought I'd go ahead and wait for all of my Chief fans, myself included, to get the conclusion of the matter. And I tell you what, we're going back one more time. I love those Chiefs. We've had a funeral on today. For those of you that remember Jams JJ, who was one of my very first she and Rebel were my first moderators, and they had death in the family, so it was an honor to share with them on today, on this evening, as a matter of fact, and sending out love to her. She's usually in these streams. She just does not necessarily come into the chats. Matter of fact, when I got to the mortuary today, she was talking about Lot and Lot's daughters. So I want to send out love to she and her family, Norma, all of the babies, and the loss of your loved ones, and nothing but mad love to you. So it's been a full day. Had to get up and go to work this morning, but there's no negativity about that. I thank God for the job, and I thank God for income, and I thank God for increase. And there are many more things on the horizon, though, so I'm excited about all of that. I want to come through real quickly before we get started. For those that know, this is our nightly 6 o'clock Bible study that tonight we're going to host at 6:30. Due to that football game, one reason is in the room. That's my bishop of Twitch. Kai Chick is here. Listen, that's my poster girl for Boss Energy. If I could just make everything about her life, and since she's been with us in this stream, she is the epitome of Boss Energy, without a doubt. Bearded Baritone is in the room tonight. It's good to see you, my brother. And thank you for coming in. I have missed you, and it's good to see you here in the Lion's Den. Crystal Method, I see you, and nothing but mad love to you, my sister. It's always a blessing when I see you out there chatting. Chef Nobi is in the room. Hey, sis, so much love to you. Come on through, and it's good to see you tonight. Feels like I'm missing somebody. Let me go back. If I missed you, I am so sorry. I did not intend to by any stretch. But I'm looking. I guess I got everybody. Okay. If I DJ Rock and Ron, come on in here, my brother. Mad love to you. I love you. I do. Listen, Kajik, I'm glad that it's a blessing to you, and that is my prayer. Is that it is blessing the people, because that's what I believe. God has called me to use this platform for. I'm a little bit different in that regard. I might be a little strange, or as my one of my aunts used to say, "Scrange." I might be a little strange in that regard, but I feel like I am here for the purpose of being a blessing to the people. Now, I want to move forward. We covered a lot of material on yesterday, and at this point in time, I want to get right on into the study. Genesis chapter 20 is where we are right now. And again, as I said to you on yesterday, I'm leaning heavily on the Reese chronological right now versus the Tyndale. So I'm following that for those that want to go out there in my Discord to WOF, which stands for Word on Fire Bible Study, and then go up to where you'll see the icon that looks like a pin. Click on that and then pull out the Reese Cron Bible PDF, and you can follow me along there as well. Now, excuse me. Abraham and this lie that he just won't let go every time we turn around. But now, that being said, I will say this. Many of us, when we find a lie or an untruth that works for us, the reality of it is it's not uncommon that we just keep using it over and over again. So, again, I'm not passing judgment on my brother for him continuing to tell this lie when he goes into a strange place. Sarah tell them you're my sister, even though he knows that is his wife. So and we talked about this even on, was it yesterday or a few days? I don't know where and when, but we have touched on the fact they're growing and they're flawed. And just like us, we are flawed and we go through processes and we go through places that we have to grow from. But let's not hold people don't capture them in a picture where we don't allow them to be anything other than what that snapshot has frozen them at that point in place in time. Let's allow that video image to develop with us when we look at people, because from frame to frame, we're constantly changing and moving on, maturing, growing, and coming to a greater place in God. Right now, we see him as he gets out. I'm going to start with the first verse. And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur and sojourned in Gerar. And Abram said of Sarah, his wife, "She is my sister." And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. Now, this just keeps happening. And so I'm not going to belabor this point because we've talked about it extensively. My concern, once more and again, I want Abraham in reality. Please cover your wife. Don't just put her out there and leave her uncovered and send her into these strange men's homes. But God always protects, God always covers, God always comes through. But he just keeps telling this same lie over and over. He's got that. That's his stick. He just goes from place to place. This is my sister, goes to the next place. This is my sister, goes to the next place. This is my sister. And I don't know. He comes out with spoils, but at the end of the day, whether it's Egypt, where it's Abimelech, listen, at the end of the day, please stop using please just stop with that. Tell the people the truth. But then look, but God came to Abimelech in a dream. Now, God bless Abimelech, because God said, "Listen, I'm not going to let you go out like this." And said unto him, "Behold, thou art but a dead man for the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife." Now, just keep throwing her under the bus, Crystal Method. He can't help himself. He keeps throwing her under the bus and he keeps telling this lie. Now, I'm going to say it once more and again. There's no point in pointing fingers at him and talking about him crazy, because some of us have done the same thing and we just keep telling the same lie. And I said what I meant. Back in the day, you couldn't say lie. You had to say, she's a story. No, this is a lie. This is a lie that he keeps telling over and over again. So at the end of the day, it's like you have to get to this point at some place in your life. When you make up your mind, you have to make up your mind, I'm going to stop telling this lie. whether it's an acted lie, because sometimes, we used to say back in the day, or under men, come on here, throwing her under men. I like that one reason. You just have to come to a point in time where you refuse to keep falling back into whatever comfort that lie brings to you, to whatever benefit that lie brings to you. And then you have folks that just lie. They can't help it. They just have a compulsion to lie, which I equate that to either areas of very low self esteem, or there may be some frontal lobe issue going on with the brain, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, when you come into a place of healing and health, you can come to where you can, whether you're pretending. I started to say this earlier, didn't finish my thought. The old folks at my church used to say, you can sing a lie just as well as tell a lie. So they kind of had issues, some of the old timers, with young people being in the choir and singing songs that maybe you said I'm saved, but you ain't saved by their standards anyway. And they felt like that was a lie. So at the end of the day, whether you're putting on airs, putting on false images, putting on facades, whatever it is, if it's not the real thing, it's a lie. So I want you to, scrutinize yourself. Nobody needs to sit up and look and try to make an assessment of you, but please scrutinize yourself. But God is gracious to Abimelech and says, wait a minute. She's a man's wife. And I tell people all the time, if you want to know the truth, God will reveal it to you. Even if Abraham and Sarah's not going to reveal it to you, God will. But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Said he is not unto me. Said he not unto me. She is my sister. I'm just going based off of what this man told me. I don't know him from Adam. I do not know her. This is what this guy told me. Thank God he spoke to Abimelech, or else. Exactly. One reason. And I love, this is how God is. God is no respecter of person. And it didn't matter that Abimelech was of a different people, of a different tongue, a different nation. God treated him just as fairly as he treats everybody else, and revealed it to him. So he says, listen, this man is the one that told me she's my sister, in the integrity of my heart. And she herself said he's my brother. So they've conspired against me. Please don't charge it against me. In the integrity of my heart and innocency of my hands have I done this. Abimelech's like, I'm not trying to get out here and take another man's wife. Both of them lied to me. And God said unto him in a dream, yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thine heart, for I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. So listen, God gave him the ability to restrain. He was innocent, and they set him up. One reason. Bottom line, this man just got set up. Now, therefore, restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet. Now, this part right here, and I want to emphasize this, because gifts and callings are without repentance. The Lord had spoken earlier in Genesis and called the man a prophet. Then we see where God counts this for righteousness. Now, even though he's out here lying and setting folks up, yet and still, look what God said. This man is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, know that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine. Now, check this out. Isn't it interesting that this man that's lying, this man that's conspiring with his wife to deceive this Abimelech, God says he is a prophet. He acknowledges him for what he is. And again, as I said, as we move in growth and where there may be flaws and where there may be areas, God does not denounce him. It's almost like the prodigal son. Even though the son left and went his way and did everything willful that he could do, the father never stopped calling him his son. The father never looked at him as anything other than his son. I want us to get that understanding about the mercy and the love of God. When God has placed something on you and in you, we're more, and I talked about this the other day, how we are so formed and fashioned in our thinking about crime and punishment. Honey, thank God for not throwing us away, Crystal Method. Thank God for not throwing us away. So at the end of the day, God sees you in that created self. If you look at the intro that I put together for this stream, in it I say connect to your created self. God sees you in your created self, in the perfection, in the mode, in the groove. Notice he just keeps saying, "This is my prophet. This is my prophet." And then says, turns around and said, "And he's going to pray for you and you will live." This man that lied to you and conspired with his wife to set you up, he is still my prophet, and he has the power to pray for you and you will live. I want you all to understand that when God has put that gifts and callings are without repentance. When he, meaning he doesn't take them back. He doesn't take them and doesn't when we see that, I want you to see God knows the end of our story. That's what I'm trying to tell you. One reason he knows, he's the Alpha and the Omega. He's the beginning and the end. He knows your story and the ending. He always speaks to you from your ending. He always thinks of you from your ending. He always is moving in your behalf towards your ending. So while you, as again, we're always in our minds framed and fashioned to think about crime and punishment, crime and punishment. I did wrong. I'm unworthy. I did. Listen, at the end of the day, when God looks at you, he sees that created end. He sees who he created you to be. So I want you to start, if that helps for some, because some of us get stuck. Some of us get caught up in whatever we see our shortcomings to be, and they may be shortcomings that need to be overcome. That's true. Just at the end of the day, we may need to, but at the end of the day as well, I want you to know that when God looks at you, he's not looking at you from that place of shortcoming. He's looking at you as a success. I know my thoughts concerning you, thoughts of good and not of evil, to give you a desired end. So that desired end, that's what God sees when he looks at you, and he strengthens you. He helps you. He keeps you. He works in your process. He works on your behalf to get you to that desired end. So please know that God is on your side. He's rooting for you. He's cheering for you. He's making a way. The steps of the righteous are ordered of God. Come on and praise him in here, Crystal Method. Your steps are ordered of God. So even though I look and I'm like, come on now, Abraham, stop telling this tired lie that you just keep going from place to place to place. Come on, Dalen. As my nana would say, he stands in the, come on here. He stands in the gap. He does do it. So I want us to be confident and assured of that in our relationship with God. Now, again, am I out here? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? God forbid. I'm not out here just missing the mark to be missing the mark. He says, listen, at the end of the day, the love of Christ constrains me. The love of God is what keeps me when I realize that he's looking at me and seeing the created. He had a thought in mind when he created Regina Louise. So when I know that he's seeing that created, the reason why he created me, and that reason fulfilled in me, that reason fulfilled through me, that reason fulfilled by me, when I understand that that's what he sees when he looks at me, regardless to where I am in my process, that can give me peace and consolation. We used to sing a song that said, friendship with Jesus, fellowship divine. Oh, what blessed and sweet communion, because Jesus is a friend of mine. I can step back and know he's my friend. He's a friend of mine, and he's working in my behalf, and he's working in my favor. I think about when what's my guy Isaac Houghton was Israel was putting out the Israel, yes, was putting out the worship series back in the, was it the 90s, the late 90s, late 80s, I can't remember. But one of the songs, he said, he just calls me righteous. I used to be liar. I used to be all these things. He names all these things off. But then at the end, that line always got me when he said, but he's talking about God, but he just calls me righteous. It's beautiful how even in this passage of scripture, we see God speaking to Abimelech, and he doesn't speak anything other than what Abraham really is. He's a prophet, and he can pray for you, and God will allow you to live. So I love that, standing in the gap that God is constantly doing on our behalf to get us to where we need to be. Trust that. Therefore, Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told all these things in their ears, and the men were sore afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said unto him, what hast thou done unto us? And what have I offended thee, that thou hast brought on me and my kingdom a great sin? Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not to be done. Now, don't get mad when folks start telling you the truth, because he told Abraham the truth. And Abimelech said to Abraham, what sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? Listen, come on here. One reason I am a friend of God. He calls me friend. Come on, come on. And Abraham said, because I thought surely the fear of God is not in this place. Now, come on with judging folks that you don't know. Surely the fear of God is not in this place. You don't know this man from Adam. And this is a word that we need to find ourselves moving away from judging folks that we don't know, because we assume. Now, this is what he said. I thought surely the fear of God is not in this place. He was as wrong as two left shoes. Obviously, Abimelech and God are having communication and conversation like they know each other. Huh? You understand what I'm saying? God and Abimelech are having conversation like they know one another. Don't you dare assume that because someone is different than you or someone is from a different place that they don't know God. Now, this is Abraham confessing to what he thought. And he said, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. Now, come on, sir. I need you to be just a little stronger in your manhood and cover your wife. And yet, indeed, she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. So now he's trying to clean up his lie that he's telling, because at the end of the day, that's his wife. So now, this is the thing I want us to, the paranoid. Come on here, Crystal Method. He's paranoid, and he just knows she's so beautiful. She's so lovely. She's so gorgeous. Surely they're going to kill me and take her. That's not even in their minds. And sometimes this is exactly the energy we come at people with, where we are thinking and we're paranoid about a thing. We're thinking something that they're not even thinking about. And we start operating and acting out of that, just as wrong as two left shoes. And it came to pass, when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said unto her, this is thy kindness which thou shalt show unto me at every place. And he was faithful to it. He did it everywhere he went. At every place whither we shall come, say of me, he is my brother. And Abimelech took sheep and oxen and men servants and women servants and gave them to Abraham and restored him Sarah his wife. And Abimelech said, behold, my land is before thee, dwell where thou pleasest. Now, listen, Abimelech is being extremely gracious here to this man, because a lot of folks would have dealt very differently with Abraham. But Abimelech is showing him grace as well, because Abimelech knows this is God's man, because God told him plainly, this is my prophet. Listen, let him pray for you, and he can turn all this around. And unto Sarah he said, behold, I have given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes unto all that are with thee, and with all other. Then she was reproved. So Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maidservants, and they bare children. For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Now look at this calamity. They done brought on Abimelech's whole house. And Abimelech didn't have a bit more nothing to do with this. This was Abraham and Sarah plotting and scheming, and they done jacked up everybody else's house. So God turned that thing around. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. Now, coming on down, for Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, who Sarah bare to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son. Now remember, that was the covenant that God said. The covenant was in the flesh. And then we saw even before that where he had him kill the animals on the altar. Remember when he was out there waving off the scavengers that were trying to come down, fly down out of the sky and eat the carcasses. So now we see the execution of these covenants that have been made with Abraham. So Abraham, on the 8th day, remember, God gave him very strict instruction of how he wanted this covenant to be done. So Abraham circumcised his son being 8 days old as God had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born unto him. And Sarah said, God hath made me to laugh. Now that was my phone that was laughing just a minute ago because my travel agent was sending me some information, but it was right on time. Sarah said, God has made me to laugh so that all that hear will laugh with me. And she said, who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age. Now, saints, I told y'all when I read, I see this in 3D. I see these withered up old breasts. y'all not like me, or maybe I'm not like y'all. I see her pulling out these withered up old breasts because you know gravity starts to pull them. You know what I'm saying? The twins start laying down. The girls just don't have any perk left. The twins start laying down and the girls just, but they were able to give suck to this child. Now, the visual on that for me is anyhow. But at the end of the day, she was able to provide and suffice for this child with them old breasts that she had. Honey, truly, God is a miracle worker. They were restored, Crystal Method. Truly, God is a miracle worker. Listen, I just want you to understand and get the full picture. Not only that, but she's already past her menses. She's already past the season and the time of having children. So, you know, you got the two of them who believed God that, you know, hey, we can do the tango and make us a baby. And that's exactly what they did. So I want you to get the full impact of this picture. Because Lord Jesus, at 100 years old, the Lord pumped him up. Come on, one reason. We come to pump you up. The Lord pumped him up, baby. Because I can guarantee you at that age, the twins, the girls have laid down. The girls have lain down by then. I'm just saying, because gravity is real. As we get older, gravity is real. But the Lord pumped them up. This is what the Lord will do. And so, you know, and again, I know for some, you know, you may find my humor offensive, but at the end of the day, I'm telling you, when I read these stories, I see them in full 3D. I see a whole movie on the screen before me. And I don't know how you can envision anything else. Thank God for the pump. Thank God for the pumping up, y'all. Thank God for the pumping up. Because listen, she needed help at that age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, which she had born unto Abraham, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, now look here. My heart still goes out to Hagar, but then Hagar acts like she doesn't have good sense. The last thing you need to be out here doing is mocking and carrying on. Listen. Read the room, lady. Read the room. And sometimes that's our problem. We don't know how to read the room. And the situation gets dicey because, well, it's already dicey because now you got a son that is older than my son, and now we getting ready to have some conflict and some friction between these sons. Both of them are Abraham's. Now, you feeling yourself and you feeling like you have some kind of advantage because your child is 14 years older than my child just now getting here. But at the end of the day, read the room, Hagar. This isn't the time to be out here mocking and making fun. So now you done got under your mistress's jealousy, rears its ugly face once and again. One reason you done got under your mistress's skin. So now, wherefore she said to Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son. Now, once more and again, I just have to look at these brethren and say, who? Now, even if you're going to throw out the bondwoman, why would you throw out your flesh and blood? Now, make that make sense to me. But nonetheless, I got to make Sarah happy. And she's having a fit because they are making fun and mocking. So we got a situation going on, even though we created the situation. Hello. Throw out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. Jealousy rears its ugly head again. Come on here, one reason. For sure, for sure. Now we got a situation, and Abraham finds himself in a dilemma. And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son. Okay, well then don't send him away, Abe. Don't send him away. But nonetheless. And God said unto Abraham, let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman, in all that Sarah hath said unto thee, hearken unto her voice, for in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Now, I'm going to leave that. And also of the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation, because he is thy seed. And Abraham rose up early in the morning. Now, God's going to take care of both of them. That's the reality that's going to come out of this calamity. God's going to end up taking care of both of them. And both of these sons are going to create nations, mighty, mighty nations, and all of them raised up in Abraham's name. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and took bread and a bottle of water and gave it unto Hagar, putting it on her shoulder and the child, and sent her away. And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. Now I'm gonna tell you what. Can we talk about? And again, my thing is always revisiting and reliving the text. Can you imagine? Because at this point, Isaac is old enough. I'm sorry, Ishmael is old enough to know exactly what's going on here. Now, Ishmael has to be feeling some kind of way. This young lad is 14 years old. So we're talking about, we already passed bar mitzvah and all of this other, this young man is a young man. And when we start talking about relationships with fathers, relationships with brothers, relationships where it gets a little dicey, these are situations and family dynamics that we need to look at. And can we tell the truth? This war between these two brothers and their families and their nations yet thrives today. How many times in our own family systems do we find dynamics that pop up that create situations of tension and jealousy, striving and competition? Don't let this young man think he's gonna be heir, because my son is the heir. And all of a sudden she's calling Hagar the bondwoman. Notice that. Before she's a handmaid, now she's a bondwoman. So that identity and the way that Sarah was addressing her has now taken on a change, because Sarah got an attitude too. She's like, wait a minute. My son's gonna get the one. Yes, I've caught the live love to see. Come on. So much love, Chris G. Come on in here, sis. So at the end of the day, when we look at how dynamics within the family, until somebody breaks the mold and says enough is enough, it will just keep going on and on. How many centuries have these brothers been fighting? How many centuries have these brothers continued to fight? And the mothers didn't help. So at the end of the day, I would to God, that Abraham, I know we have purpose for all things, but we're in 2025. I pray that we learn over the years, because we're not back in these ancient days of old, even though a lot of the dynamics are still the same. Don't let there be a blended family. Blended families sometimes can be a challenge, and you begin to find that there are issues between who's blood and who's married in, but that ain't your child, and you're not my daddy, you're not my mama, and y'all already know the deal. And then don't let somebody close their eyes in death, because then we got problems over who's getting what and who deserves what. Listen, it just creates all kinds of things. Now we see God, and the water was spent in the bottle, meaning she had drank it all. They had drank, and she cast the child under one of the shrubs. Because listen, we're out here now, we about to die of thirst. And she went and sat her down over against him a good way off, as if it were a bow shot. So she's almost like consigning, this baby's gonna die. I just can't sit here and watch him die. I can't just sit here and watch him die. Now, mind you, what did I say earlier? He's not a baby. He's a young man of some size by now, because Abraham was 84 when uh, he was born. So if we understand from 84 to 100, do the math. For she said, let me not see the death of the child. And she sat over against him and lifted up her voice, and she wept. And God heard the voice of the lad. And the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven and said unto her, what aileth thee, Hagar? Fear not, for God hath heard the voice of the lad where he is. I could stop and have another conversation about how this text definitely seems to favor the male over the female, because she was weeping too. But nonetheless, let's keep going. Arise, lift up the lad, Arise, lift up the lad and hold him in thine hand, for I will make him a great nation. And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the bottle with water and gave the lad to drink. And God was with the lad, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness to become an archer. Now, this is what I want us to identify here. So we have Ishmael and him being out here in the wilderness, and he becomes an archer. Now, I want to identify. You hear me very frequently allude to the fact that sin is what kind of a term? It's an archery term. Sin is a term from archery, which means to miss the mark, to miss the mark. I find it very interesting that here at the onset of the covenant with these two children, we end up with this baby out here in the wilderness. But as he develops and as he grows into a man, he becomes an archer. And so one of the very dominant terms that we find used over and over and over again is sin, which is a term from archery. And I pay attention to stuff like that, and others are like, well, and what does that mean? Okay, but I feel that there's so many things and significance in so many small details. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took him a wife out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass at that time that Abimelech and Phicol of the chief captain of his host spake unto Abraham, saying, God is with thee in all that thou doest. Now therefore swear unto me here by God that thou wilt not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son, but according to the kindness that I have done unto thee, thou shalt do unto me and to the land wherein thou hast sojourned. Now, really, at this point, and Abraham says, I swear, at this point, really what we kind of have going on here is he wants to make sure, Abimelech wants to make sure Abraham is prospering. Abraham's seed is prospering. The things that they have are growing. And now remember, Abimelech was very kind and gracious to Abraham and said, wherever you want to go, whatever part of my land you want to stay here, you're welcome to do that. But he's saying to him now, as this sojourner, please promise me you're not going to come back to bite me. And this is basically in today's terminology, if you'll allow me to use it that way. Please promise me you're not going to come back to bite me. And Abraham says, I promise that I won't do that. So, and now I think Abimelech has the right to ask that, in that Abraham came into his land lying and bringing a curse on his house. So I think it's only fair. I don't think it was an unreasonable question that Abimelech was like, looked up and see him prospering. It was obvious to Abimelech, God is with this man. There's no doubt about it. God is with this man. And he saw his kingdom at risk. And he just came to him directly and said, hey, let's talk about this thing and make an oath. And I need you to swear. And Abraham did that. And Abraham reproved Abimelech because of a well of water, which Abimelech's servants had violently taken away. And Abimelech said, I wot not who has done this thing. I don't know who did it. Neither didst thou tell me, neither yet heard I of it. But today, this is the first I heard of it, Abraham. And Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech, and both of them made a covenant. And Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock. Now, check, here we are again. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, what mean these 7 ewe lambs which thou hast set by themselves? And he said, for these 7 ewe lambs shalt thou take of my hand, that they may be a witness unto me that I have digged this well. So they're coming into a pact and an agreement amongst themselves. Wherefore he called that place Beersheba, because there they both swear, let me read that correctly, because there they swear, both of them. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba. Then Abimelech rose up, and Phicol, the chief of captain of his host, and they returned into the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. So now we have Abraham coming into a place of worship. And Abraham sojourned in the Philistines' land many days. And I'm going to stop right there because I think my time, I think we started at 6:30. I'm a little bit over. I didn't realize I was over. 7:14. So here we have the son of promise, Isaac being born, and Sarah having issue with Hagar and Ishmael, and she's like, he's got to go. He's got to go. I'm sorry, I said Isaac. I meant to say Isaac. I didn't say Isaac, but I meant to say Isaac. So we're starting to see covenants. We're starting to see worship. We're starting to see covenants between nations. And at the end of the day, we look and we see God moving and prospering Abraham in a tremendous way, and Abimelech being very gracious and saying, okay, let's make a pact together so that both of us can be together peacefully. Abraham brings up this issue about this well that Abimelech's men have taken, and Abimelech basically said, hey, this is the first I heard of it, sir. Let's you and I come together and let's make an agreement. So this is where we are right now in the 21st chapter of Genesis. And if you guys have any comments that you want to make on that, feel free. But for that, I'm going to stop on tonight because we're going to get into where we're going to start having conflict between Isaac and Ishmael. All right. Let's see. Make sure. So as we get ready to get out of here tonight, one reason, so much love to you, Kai Chick. I appreciate it. Beard Tone, if you're still here, you know nothing but love for you. Crystal Method, love you. Chef Nobi, DJ Rock and Ron, and I hope you all are having a good time at the baby shower. I know you're lurking. Coming on down, and I saw Chris come on in here. Let me see. I want you all to take away out of all of this, again, God doesn't throw us away. He sees us for who we are. Dalen, nothing but mad love to you. I always appreciate you being in, and you always have such good insight and input in the chat. Yes, one reason I missed that, always assuming the worst. That is so true. Stay lifted. Come on in here. So much love to you. And Chris G. Yes, you caught me on tonight. So again, for those that are wanting to go with us, we're going from Genesis to Revelation. We're doing it in chronological order, and you're welcome to meet us here nightly at 6 o'clock. Started at 6:30 this evening so that everybody could watch the Chiefs game and enjoy our win. But we'll be back tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Continue reading through, and again, I'm in heavily right now in the Discord Reese's chronological. So that's the outline that I'm mostly focusing on right now. So for those that want to go out there, that's what it looks like. Go out there to my Word on Fire WOF Bible study. Click on that pin, the icon of the pin, and then go down to Reese Cron Bible PDF, and you'll see the outline. All right. Let's see. So where we are, I already did Hagar and Ishmael cast out, which is E. The covenant with Abimelech, which is F. So then we're going to start at G. It jumps us, as you see, Genesis 20, Acts 7 and 6. So jump out there and get that, Acts 7 and 6. And for those that want to, Genesis, it covered the 400 years, the death of Salah, the birth of Rebecca, Ishmael's children. That's where we're going to pick it up. Incidents in Abraham's life. So I'm going to say start around GHIJ in the outline, because now remember, the chronological is going to also bring in other passages of scripture. So you'll see First Chronicles 1:29 through 31 is in there. We're talking about Ishmael. First Chronicles 1:29 through 31, Genesis 25:12 to 16. Then we're going to keep on going, and I think we've got all the way down to January the 20th. And I know I'm a little bit ahead of schedule, but I told you I'm going to be out of pocket for a little bit. So I'm trying to run us a little bit ahead of schedule. January the 21st, let's get all of that done. And I think that's where we're going to stop. Read through the completion of January the 20th. Read through the completion of January 20th. Go out there and you can catch and look at the Bible study outline and see exactly where we are, so you can get all those scriptures in. If you can't get all the scriptures in, just come on back and I'll talk through as much of it as I can on tomorrow night, but that's going to be where we'll wrap it up for tomorrow's event. Again, 6 o'clock tomorrow, we'll be here. I don't see any questions, no comments. I'll give it a hot second. Again, Reese's Chronological and Tyndale's 1 year chronological Bible are what we are using right now. Let me grab it for those that want to take a look at it. This is the Tyndale. 1 year chronological Bible, and we're just taking it a day at a time. All right. I don't see anything else out there. So if all hearts and minds are clear, no questions to be asked, remember that God sees you in your end. That's the way he always sees you, in your end. Take that grace and take that knowledge and walk boldly. Continue to work on whatever areas you have shortcomings. Again, Abraham had to grow out of telling this lie over and over and over and over again. You may have some areas of shortcoming that you need to work through and come out of that, but don't beat yourself down to the degree that you are constantly seeing yourself in a negative way, because God still, even in Abraham's worst behavior, God still said, this is my prophet. And that's exactly the way the Lord looks at you too. Remember that. And don't be afraid to walk in what God has called you to be. because you're all that you needed to hear that today. Come on here, Kai Chick. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Uh, God never changes his position about who you are and who you are to him. Corruption of our psychology because we're so acclimated to crime and punishment. We won't let ourselves out of jail. So come on, Crystal Method. I see you. I see you. It's almost like Otis, and he's one of my favorite characters when I talk about. If you remember him from Andy Griffith, for those of you that are old enough to remember that series, Otis was the town drunk, and he would lock himself up in jail. And some of us are Otis. Hear me. Some of us are Otis because we get off balance. That's all drunkenness is, inebriation. You get off balance, you get off kilter, off kill. And many of you, because you cannot release yourself from your shortcoming, you take the keys and put your own self in jail. But the blessing of Otis knew how to reach around there and get that key and let himself out. So you, at this point tonight, when you hear this word, God still said, this is my prophet. Let him pray for you and you will be healed. Let him go forth in his ministry and you will be healed. And that's exactly what happened. I want you to learn how to take the keys and unlock that jail cell and let yourself out because you are a friend of God. He calls you friend. He just calls you righteous. All right. I love you. Have a great night. We'll see you back tomorrow.